Hello and welcome back to Viralstyle Academy. Again, I'm your host, Luke Stassi. I'm going to pick up from our last video here where we left off in the middle of this introductory walkthrough in Power Editor within Facebook advertising, teaching you how and what to do within this system. So this is where we left. We had plugged in our campaign, ad set, and ad. And I'm going to click the create button right here, which is going to jump us into, now we've actually created 1, 2, 3. Okay, I talked about the 3 levels here on the left. So you can navigate this and it doesn't feel too intimidating. There's campaign level, there's the ad set level, and the ad level. And as you click on each part of that, it's going to move you forward from one step down to the others, each of these 3 different parts. Okay, so again, the overall with the campaign, this is just the name, and then the objective is the only things here. Okay, then as we get into the next level is the ad set. Okay, so what an ad set is we are now choosing our targeting on Facebook as well as some other things. I want to walk you through this here part by part and explain to you what each thing is so that you understand it and you can begin doing this stuff on your own. So first thing up here is just the name, which I would recommend in the name. I number things because it helps to keep it sorted and categorized. So I just number them in order as you create more ads. So as you're getting just started in Facebook advertising, you may only have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 different ads running at a time for a campaign until you learn all of this. But as you get more advanced, you may end up with dozens or hundreds of ads that are running for one campaign. So when you do a numbering system like 3 digits or 2 digits, it allows you to keep those ads sorted very easily and then refer back to the data and understand them. So again, I'm just throwing some nuggets out there, some more advanced ideas and just little tips I've learned along the way so that as you get better at this, you can start to use them too. What I always recommend doing is in the ad set name, after you number it, I would recommend that you title this ad set whatever your targeting is. So I'm going to explain that here in a minute. So let me just drop that on you. We'll come back to it. The next thing here is the budget and the schedule. So what the budget is right here, this is the amount of money that you're allowing Facebook to spend on this one ad set per day. Okay. So you can also set it as a lifetime, but we found that the most effective thing in running t-shirt offers online is you set a daily budget is the best way to optimize it. So you're saying spend $5 a day, okay? Or you're saying spend $10 a day. So this is where you just are telling Facebook how much money Facebook is allowed to spend. And on your first day of launching a campaign, it will prorate that amount based on how much time is left in the day. So if you're launching the campaign halfway through the day, it's only going to spend $5 because this is the amount based on a 24-hour time period. So the very next day, it would end up spending the full amount. So that, just so you know, that first 24 hours is done on a prorated time amount depending on how much time is left in that day. Then you can also choose a start schedule, which if you just leave it, it's going to start right away. So this is, my current day and time in Pacific time. You can also choose this to launch some other time in the future or at a very specific time. So what some people use this part for is studies have shown that ads perform best when they're launched first thing in the morning. So you could schedule this to launch tomorrow morning and you could change the time to say, 8 a.m. by just typing in the different parts here. And then the ad will not actually start advertising until then. It will just kind of sit and wait for that time frame to come around. So the schedule end here is where you can say don't schedule, which means that you're just going to manually monitor this ad, which is what I do in all of my ads. But if for some reason you weren't able to manually monitor it, you could give an end day and time where it would just shut off all by itself. So you want these ads to run all the time. It's generally what you can get in here and create schedules, but that's only allowed when you set a lifetime budget. So you can actually play with this and allow different days and times to have where those days and times are where the ad is running. But for t-shirts, and what I'm going to teach you to do is just do a daily budget and run ongoing and then just run all the time. So you're basically just using the default settings here, and they're going to end up being very effective because what you do is you give Facebook the power to optimize on its own and figure out what is the most effective. So some of this you just have to trust Facebook that it's going to end up doing the right thing. It doesn't always, but that's part of the process. All right, so down here under audience, so this is our actual targeting. We're telling Facebook who to put this ad in front of. So this little section right here, from here to here, it seems small, but within this window right here is millions of points of data that you can adjust, you can tweak, you can increase, you can decrease, you can dial in, you can layer on top of each other. And this is the make or break, is this little piece of real estate right here, and whether or not you're going to be successful is how well you learn this and how smart you get with it. So I'm going to give you the just super basic introduction here so you can understand what all is in here. First thing is location, and this is going to be by country or even city. So, and then you can include or exclude. Okay, so the default is going to be United States, but you could also plug in something like Canada. You just type it in, it's going to pop up, you click on it. Or you could get a lot more specific. You could say something like Detroit, and it's going to give you everything called Detroit. So interestingly enough, there are lots of different Detroits, but if you wanted Detroit in Michigan, then look at this. Now we're only targeting United States, Detroit, Michigan, plus 25 miles. And then you can increase this radius or decrease it. So you can go down to 10 or you can go up to 50. So that's pretty cool. Let's say, for example, you were running a campaign that was for, let's say, a sports team. And it was obviously not something that was infringing on a sports team, but it was to that fan base. And let's say it was the Detroit Lions. Then you could target specifically to just Detroit and then add other layers here to get into the Detroit Lions. So this can be a very powerful tool, but the cool thing is that if we get rid of Detroit here, we have to plug something in. So now we got to go back to United States. But what's cool is being able to target other countries. I mean, literally you can target any country in the world. So I would encourage you, as you're learning and growing, figure out how to target overseas, figure out how you can maximize other audiences, and think about how if there may be a specific region that might be more effective for your ads within the USA itself, if certain cities or states, and actually within your analytics and Viralstyle, you can even look at what states are buying more than others. So it just allows you to get more targeted in here. For the most part, I will tell you that my first ads I'll be running are going to just be to United States as a whole before I would ever think about trying to break up in any other way. Then as we get down here, you can adjust ages. So you can go increase or decrease. You can give bigger or smaller windows. So you could say like 18 to 24. We could say just 18 to 24 men or women with the gender layer here. So this is allowing us to target in more detailed to the demographics that may be buying. So the cool thing is that in your reports within Facebook, you can see specifics of what ages and genders are buying more or less. So I would recommend when you're first launching ads to just stick with all in 18 to 65 until you learn about your niche or your audience and learn what works and what doesn't work before you start dialing in. But as you get more advanced in this and you have campaigns that start selling, Facebook will collect the data of who's buying. So you could say, oh, look at this. It's women 35 to 44 are the ones that's buying. So you can come back in here and then create a new ad that are just for women that are 35 to 44. And just like that, you are now much more targeted towards the people that are actually interested in your product. So as we go along here, you can also target languages. So you could say people that only speak Polish or people that only speak French. So this is pretty cool because if you ever get a creative idea for people that speak a certain language, then you could plug this layer in. And if we plug in French, then now we are broken down to only people that live in the USA, but they have told Facebook on their profile that they speak French. So now I love speaking French t-shirt, you put it in front of them, it would be people that are only speaking French. So it would make a lot more sense to put it in front of them rather than everybody else on Facebook. All right, so then in here in detailed targeting, this is the area where there are, like I said, millions of points of data that Facebook has plugged all in here. So there are demographics, interests, and behaviors. So there's a lot to it, and I don't want to overwhelm you in one video. So the idea is in here, if we went back and we said, Detroit Lions, we could actually type in Detroit Lions. and fan pages that are related to Detroit Lions are going to pop up here. And if we click on one, then we're only going to be targeting people that like Detroit Lions, okay? And if we went back and we were to layer that with Detroit, then it would only be people that like Detroit Lions but live in Detroit. And if we only said men, and we said something like, 25 to 34, and we said Detroit. All right, so look at how we're now getting dialed in. So we started with millions of people, and now we're down to 47,000 people on Facebook, 15,000 people on Instagram. Now we're much more dialed in, and this may or may not be an audience that would actually work or not, but this is just giving you an idea of how you can layer these pieces of data to get a much more precise shot at who you're targeting, which you have to look at the reports and look at the data to try to figure out if it's actually going to work or not. So in here under detailed targeting, you could literally plug in anything under the sun. You could plug in knitting, and you're going to see 42 million people on Facebook like knitting. But then underneath here are all these very more specific interests regarding knitting that people like as well. Like this knitting club is 838,000, or knitting gauge is 864,000. So in here is where you're actually going to plug in what the people might be interested in. So this is pulling the fan pages on Facebook that they actually have clicked that they like that fan page, and this is getting plugged in here. So other stuff that's in here is demographics, which this can give you something like people that are married, okay? Or you could do people that are moms or parents. So you can just parents of younger kids, or parents of older kids, or all parents, or different types of moms that Facebook has. If you look over here, the source, this is consumer data that Facebook is pulling and integrating into these Facebook accounts. It's kind of crazy, really, the amount of data that Facebook has all in here. So there's just layers after layers. You could do, fields of study regarding education. You could search something like engineering, and see what stuff comes up. You can plug that in as the field of study. And so it's just thing after thing that's in here. Life events. So there's people who live away from their family, or they've just got a new job, or just been engaged. So you could create shirts for people who just got engaged or just got married. And you just start, I would encourage you, I'm not going to go through all of this. Dig through here, because there's so much information that can help you to find a very targeted group of people. And then you can from there decide to pick hey, maybe I can make a shirt for these people. Back to the idea of find the niche first, so then you use that to make the decision. All right, connections. This would be if you have a Facebook page, then you could tie it in to advertise to just people that are fans of your page, which is really, really awesome, because as you grow a fan page in time, those people are obviously very interested in whatever your fan page is about. So you'd want to target those people. Then down here is placement. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video right here, because again, I don't want to overwhelm you with too much information. So let's stop right here at placement, and you can take a break and maybe review what we just walked through and some of this data here under audience. And again, this is just me giving the super, super broad overview of audiences that is not in much detail. This is just me explaining to you what's available. So let's pause here, and we will pick it up in the next video.